Hello, YouTube divers. This is Water Dive 122, and I want to welcome you all to a very special premiere episode entitled Marching Band and Drum Corps Review. Originally, I was just going to record a regular video, but I decided to do a live stream instead, mostly just due to how lengthy these videos are going to be. Basically, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be critiquing and analyzing um, marching bands and drum corps across the United States, just giving my own personal opinion about their shows, what I think about them, what I liked about them, what I don't like about them, all that jazz. Um, so we're going to be talking about the Land of the Sky Band Festival hosted by Enka High School in Candler, North Carolina. They are celebrating their 50th anniversary this season. And I will be lucky enough to attend this festival because my band, the Western Carolina University Pride of the Mountains Marching Band, will be performing an exhibition act at this festival, sort of like we did last year and in years past. So, there's that. A little bit of personal history about the Land of the Sky Band Festival. I competed at this festival in 2019 when I was a freshman in high school. Um, and of course, I already mentioned last year, Pride of the Mountains performed at Land of the Sky. We did our show, Feeling Lucky, at Inca last year. That was a great experience. And I love this festival so much. A lot of great bands, a lot of great performances, and of course, the ever amazing Enka High School Marching Jets, who host this event. One of the best high school marching bands in this part of the state. I cannot even emphasize just how good they are. But we'll talk more about their show when we talk about the exhibition acts. But for right now, we are going to be talking about all of the morning bands from this festival. So all the bands from classes 1A, 1AA, 2A, and 2AA. These are all the smaller to mid-sized bands from this festival. We're going to go from smallest to biggest. I checked the performance schedule. The smallest bands perform first, while the bigger bands perform last. So there's that. I'm going to give my own personal opinions about their shows and about their feeling vibes. Maybe mention some elements that I thought stood out within the show in a positive way, of course. We're going to try and keep this as positive and as encouraging and supporting as we possibly can. And first of all, before we even do anything, let me just give out a big congratulations to all of the bands that performed at Inca, not just this past season, not just this coming season, where we'll get to see a lot of these bands who performed here last year play again, but also to all the bands who have performed at Inca throughout the 50 years that this festival has been operating. Um, so big shout out to all of the bands who performed at this festival throughout its 50-year runtime at this point. And here's to hoping that we'll have many, many more great Land of the Sky band festivals moving forward. So, with all of that, with with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get this show on the frackin' road. So, starting off with Class 1A, we've got the Robbinsville High School Black Knight Band, or the Marching Black Knights, with their show, The Storm. Um, this was a very interesting show, a very good opening show. But in the grand scheme of things, and of course, this is kind of typical for a 1A band, uh, the bands get better and better as the day goes on. That's the most general consensus with these marching band shows, or at least with these high school marching band shows that have smaller bands play first and then bigger bands play last. It's basically just well documented. But with Robbinsville, I really liked their percussion as well as their guard. All of those elements really stood out. The music was okay, but nothing really more than okay. Um, and yeah, I feel as though there were a few elements that really held this band back from um being an actual like a top tier show, but then again that's mostly generally accepted by a lot of these 1A by the 1A bands. Um but I feel Robbinsville did a really good job. As I said, the percussion and the guard were definitely the highlights of the show, I think. The visuals were pretty good. Um but yeah, I'm comfortable with giving them a score of 7 out of 10, but nothing really more than that. So, yeah, so with that said, Robbinsville gets the third place, gets the bronze medal in Class 1A, 7 out of 10. Moving on. Next up, we have the Bessemer City High School Marching Yellow Jackets with their show, Tribute to Timeless Television. And this is, in my opinion, the weakest show from Class 1A. Like with Robbinsville, there were a lot of elements that I just thought were holding this band back. Um, the music was, again, pretty mid, in my opinion. Um, but again, the percussion was pretty good. The guard was pretty good. The visuals were really good. They definitely are great marchers. That's for sure. But I didn't really enjoy the show as much as some of the rest of the shows that we're going to get to. So with that said, I'm going to give Bessemer City a score of 6.5 out of 10. I think this was a pretty mid show overall. And also another factor, I'm not a huge fan of these tribute shows because they just kind of take the originality and general effectiveness away. Like, I wouldn't really say totally away, it just decreases the general effect of the show drastically, in my opinion. Um, it's, but I mean, for the most part, the tribute was definitely well done, I think. Very, very well done. I just, for all the reasons that I talked about with Robbinsville, as well as my bias when it comes to tribute marching band shows, it's why I have Bessemer City as the weakest band from Class 1A. Moving on to East Rutherford, the East Rutherford High School Marching Band Cavaliers, with their show, Star of the Show. This is definitely better than the previous two bands, but in my opinion, it's still not my favorite. I am willing to give this a score of 8.5 out of 10. I thought the soloists were really strong, the music was really well made, well written, and well arranged. The percussion was also really good as well. The guard, in my opinion, was probably the weakest element, but they weren't bad by any means. Um, it was it was a really good show. I actually checked out the professional placements of the actual festival from last season, and East Rutherford ended up winning the Class 1A award. I think it was deserved, even though, my personal opinion, I have them at second with a score of 8.5 out of 10. So, there's that. And then lastly, in Class 1A, you have the Madison High School Marching Patriots with their show, Gotta Go Fast. Now, this is my favorite show from Class 1A, with a score of 9 out of 10, rather. Um, their feel and vibe was just, they were playing a lot of speedy music, um, and they were definitely built to play this type of music, I think. They did it really well. And shout out to their clarinet soloist. Oh my god. She did they did absolutely amazing. I am very, very impressed. Um, so yeah, music definitely stood out. The percussion was great. Um, and even the drum majors had some really good chemistry with each other. The guard was good as well. This was a good show. 9 out of 10. Favorite show from Class 1A. Very, very good stuff. Now, moving on to Class 1 AA. This competition's a little bit weird because they tried to accommodate all bands regardless of size, so they put them in these subclasses. But yeah, I think it was really good. Um, so you have Class 1 AA, the smallest class out of these AA subsections. And the first band to kick us off is East Henderson High School with their show, Sound of Silence. So delivered a very lackluster show in the 2022 season, but they rebounded in a big way with Sound of Silence. However, I do think that they are the weak. They had the weakest performance in this class, but I am still willing to give them a very enthusiastic 8.3 out of 10. Um, I think they had a really good show. The music was really good. The drums were pretty good. Um, the guard, in my opinion, was the stand. I really, really loved their guard. They did. I mean, considering just how considering the size, they did a really solid job. Love them, love them. What more do you want me to say? Um, so yeah, Sound of Silence. It was a really good show. Just not as strong as some of the other shows in this class. So let's do it. Next up, we have the RS Central High School Marching Hilltoppers with their show Paranormal. Paranormal is a very chaotic, very abnormal marching show. In the grand scheme of things, there's a lot of tritones and multiphonic tones in here. It's just a very chaotic, gives off a very chaotic vibe. And I really like that. Definitely has some great originality to it, and in my opinion, it's the best show so far. Um, I'm I'm gonna give this a 9.3 out of 10. I think this is an incredible show. Um, I would prefer if they did have like more visuals, like to kind of keep up with the overall feeling and vibe of the show. But overall, I mean, Paranormal was a fantastic show. I really liked it, and it's good enough to give the Marching Hilltoppers the silver medal, my personal silver medal in this class. So there's that. Now coming in with the next up, we have the Cherryville High School Marching Ironmen with their show Ritual. Now this one I didn't like as much as RS Central. I think this is another 9 out of 10 show. This is a very good show. I believe this was the first show where you actually had some actual props being used. And this is where that prop design and visuals category comes into play. The visuals here were really strong, and the prop design overall was really nice. Very atmospheric, I think. The musical selections were really good as well. I like the percussion arrangements as well. The guard, in my opinion, was definitely the standout. I guess you could also say that with percussion and the visuals as well. General effect. But yeah, Cherryville delivered an absolutely solid performance with Ritual. The bronze medal band in this class, but still a fantastic show nonetheless. And now, once again, you have my favorite band from this class. We are talking about the Smoky Mountain High School Marching Mustangs with their show Gladiator. I actually got to see this show in person at Smoky Mountain High School when when some members of Pride of the Mountains went up to Smoky Mountain High to surprise the Marching Mustang Band. Um, that was a really neat show. It was a really neat gig. Um, and they delivered an absolutely amazing show. The props that they used, those Roman pillars, best prop design so far, I think. The music was good. I just don't think it was executed very well. But I mean, it wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. And then you have the percussion, who were great. The guard was fantastic. Um, but the standout performance here has to go to the percussion. I really like their drum line. Smoky Mountain, I also think, is kind of notorious for having a really good drum line. Um, it's just some great stuff. What more do you want me to say? My favorite band from the 1AA class, and I feel very comfortable giving them a very enthusiastic 9.5 out of 10 rating. Very, very, very solid job from start to finish by these guys. Um, and they're incredibly nice people as well. I'm sure all these bands have nice people, but I actually got to talk with some members of this band of the Marching Mustangs, and they're really nice people. They're class acts. They're great performers and great people. What more do you want me to say? So, first place for Smoky Mountain in Class 1 AA. Moving on to Class 2A, um, we first have the Chase High School Marching Trojans with their show Portals. Um, the visuals were the absolute standout in this show, in my opinion. The visuals were really nice. The prop designs were nice. Um, very good portal designs, in my opinion. The music was okay. The drumming, the percussion was okay, and the guard kind of coincides with the visual effect as well. The really nice choreography from the guard. I just felt like if the musical arrangements and the selections were just a tad bit stronger, I think you could have a 9 out of 10 show. But I am comfortable with giving Chase a very enthusiastic 8.6 out of 10. Very good show from start to finish. Very enjoyable. Just not really, not really that memorable in my opinion. So with that said, uh, Chase gets the bronze medal in Class 2A with a score of 8.6 out of 10. Really liked the show. Next up, we have the McDowell High School Marching Titans with Wanna Dance. Now, in 2019, McDowell was a 4A, 5A band, and they performed an absolutely amazing show, Monarchy. It is one of the best high school marching band shows I have ever watched, or at least in recent memory. Um, that was great, and then COVID hit, and they obviously shrunk back down, and now they're starting to climb back up again. And with Wanna Dance, it's a tribute. I feel like it's another tribute show for a lot of dance music. And in my opinion, it just wasn't really executed very well. Um, and one of the freshman trombone players in my section with Pride of the Mountains was actually a drum major for this McDowell band lineup. And I talked to her about it, and she said the reason why we didn't do so well um, at Enka that day was because our band was terrible. They sucked, all that stuff. And I was like, they didn't really suck. They just didn't really come to play, I don't think. And that's exactly how I feel about with this performance in particular. They didn't really have a lot of enthusiasm. They didn't have that vibe of like, okay, we're here to play, we're here to win a competition, all that stuff. It they didn't really have that vibe. Now they did have that vibe with Monarchy, and I really missed that vibe, but it was just I don't know. Wanna Dance, I'm gonna give this a score of 7.8 out of 10. I don't think this was a terrible show by any stretch of the imagination. It definitely had some good stuff going for it. It just I don't know, the execution just wasn't there. And as a result, McDowell was my least favorite band from Class 2A, so there's that. Up next, we have the North Gaston High School marching band with their show Dragon Hunt. Now this is a fantastic show. Um, I know the whole cliche of like hunting down dragons is kind of cliche at this point, but heck, North Gaston makes it work. The color guard was definitely the standout. The color guard was beautiful for North Gaston. Absolutely love them. Um, yeah, absolutely love them. The winds and the percussion, the musical arrangements, they were good too. The props were really nice, and even the microphone audio effects that they had throughout the show, really really good as well. It was a very medieval, very fantasy oriented themed show, and what more can I say? It was a fun experience. This was a very fun show. And I'm very excited to see what North Gaston has prepared for us this coming season, even though I don't think they'll be at Inca this year. Oh man, that sucks, but okay. Um, So, yeah, North Gaston, Dragon Hunt, fantastic show. Loved it. Finally, in Class 2A, we have the Swain County High School Marching Maroon Devils with their show Out of the Storm. So, another show that deals with the theme of going through a storm. But in my opinion, whereas Robbinsville just, wasn't really effective enough to make this theme work, Swain County was effective enough to make this work. This is a storm-themed show, in my opinion, done correctly. And as a result, Swain County takes my vote as being the best band from Class 2A with an overall score of 9.2 out of 10. And also for context, North Gaston got a score of 8.9 out of 10. So with Swain County Out of the Storm, I really like the props. I really like the back ensemble. The winds were very strong. All of these soloists were fantastic. And the color guard especially, stunning. Absolutely stunning. The visual effects were just off of the charts on this show. And I absolutely loved it from start to finish. Very, very great show. In my opinion, easily the best band from Class 2A. Then again, Swain County are no strangers to performing some fantastic shows. I remember my freshman year, they performed a show called The Heist. We actually had to compete with them over at Enka and Reynolds. And The Heist was a really good show. But in my opinion, Out of the Storm is just a tad bit better. So there's that. So with that said, Swain County wins the Class 2A award. Now, finally, to 2AA, we have 3 bands in this class. Stuart W. Kramer is first, the Marching Storm. And their show, Experiment 2023, ended up winning the sweepstakes award for the 1A, 2A classes, and rightfully deserved. This is easily the best show of all of these classes. The best show so far. The visuals were just off the charts. The music was fantastic in both the winds and percussion. And the color guard, again, just absolutely stunning. Easily the best band from this batch of bands. They get a score of 9 point. No, they get a score 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. What more do you want me to say? Easily the best. I mean, just their show was perfect. In my opinion, it was perfect. Again, all of the elements were just clicking on all cylinders, and it was just, oh my gosh, it was fantastic show. First place, hands down. Next up, we have the Charles D. Owen High School Marching War Horses with their show Nevermore. This wasn't as good as the show delivered by Stuart W. Kramer, but in my opinion, it was pretty freaking close. I'm still feeling a very enthusiastic 9.4 out of 10. The props, it's really close between Owen and Stuart Kramer as to who had the best props, but I personally think Owen just slightly edges Stuart W. Kramer, in my opinion. I just really love those old rustic castle props. And when you watch their show, you'll understand what I'm talking about. I'll provide all of these shows. I'll provide links to all these shows in the description below. In fact, there's a whole playlist of all these shows on YouTube that you could go watch. I'll put that in the description. So, yeah, it's just a great show from start to finish. Nevermore, fantastic. Visuals were great. Props were great. Percussion and the music was great. Everything was great. 9.4 out of 10. Fantastic. And finally, in the morning bands, you have the West Henderson High School Marching Falcons with their show Apollo, We Choose to Go to the Moon. Now, in my opinion, this is the weakest show from Class 2AA, but it's still getting a very strong score of 9 out of 10. The props were kind of mid at best. They were definitely very creative and very innovative in my opinion. Just didn't really go up to the standards of like Stuart W. Kramer or Charles D. Owen. Um, but the music was really good. Um, the percussion was really good. The front ensembles were great. Owen and Wes Henderson actually didn't have drum lines. That's what I noticed on this latest rewatch. Um, but the front ensembles definitely definitely were major standouts for both of their respective performances. Um, and the wins for West was just, oh man, it was so good. The color guard was great as well. They delivered a great show. It's just, in my opinion, something had to be last. And in my opinion, West Henderson was the weakest in Class 2AA, but their show was really good nonetheless. Shout out to my friend Marina, who actually marched in this show for West Henderson. Very, very great stuff. Alright, and now, before we go, we're going to talk about um, my top 5 bands in each of the following categories. You have top 5 wins, top 5 percussion, top 5 color guard, and top 5 prop designs and visuals, also known as general effect. So for top 5 wins, in 5th place I have Smoky Mountain, 4th place I have West Henderson, 3rd place I have Swain County, 2nd place I have Charles D. Owen, and first I have Stuart W. Kramer. Top 5 percussion, number 5 you have RS Central, 4th is Madison, 3 Cherryville, 2 Smoky Mountain, and 1 Stuart W. Kramer, with Swain County getting an honorable mention for the percussion, and for Madison High School getting the honorable mention for the wins. For top 5 color guard, number 5 I have North Gaston, number 4 is Chase, number 3 Charles D. Owen, number 2 Swain County, and number 1 Stuart W. Kramer, and the honorable mention goes to Cherryville High School. And finally, top 5 prop designs and visuals. Number 5 I have Cherryville, 4th I have Swain County, 3 I have West Henderson, 2 I have Charles D. Owen, and 1st place I have Stuart W. Kramer. It's actually a toss-up between Owen and Kramer, honestly. It's very close between those two. I may like the artistic designs on Owen's props a little bit better, but in my opinion, Stuart Kramer's props were a little bit more effective with the grand scheme of their show. So that's why I have Stuart Kramer just a tad bit higher than Owen. In that category anyway. And I've already said this, but my favorite band from the morning bands from classes 1A, 1AA, 2A, and 2AA is the Stuart W. Kramer High School Marching Storm. Absolutely well-deserved. They won the Sweepstakes Award for a reason. Their show was fan-frickin-tastic. Alright, so with that said, that concludes the first part of the marching band and drum corps review. Thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is Water Dive 122 signing out, ready to dive into more fun on YouTube. Thank you for watching.